Please give a warm welcome to my brother Soren Baker. And my brother Murs.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Adrian.
Is it? Can I drink my 40 or no? Oh man, all right.
Murs, you gonna drink your 40?
Yeah, it's a gangster rap thing. I brought a 40 ounce in a paper bag. You keep it G real.
All the way real. One thou wow, as they say.
Oh shit, I was gonna read your You want to read your whole bio?
Nah,
that's what they do to rappers, bro.
Nah, man.
So this dude's been interviewing me for years, writing my bios. He's written for The Source, The Vibe, every magazine possible and every website possible, LA Times, everything. But every time I go somewhere, they read the bio that he wrote. He writes a different bio for me every year. Every time I put out a
yeah,
rap.
just about.
So, hold on. You can go to Wikipedia, which is a legitimate source. So have y'all gave y'all money to Wikipedia? They be asking. Keep it 100. I gave $70. Nice. All right. The Maryland native has penned liner notes for albums by Tupac, Ice Cube, NWA, Gangstar, and others. He has also worked on television programs for VH1 and Fuse. Baker has also written extensively about sports, specifically the NFL, and published books about the Baltimore Ravens. 3 books about the Baltimore Ravens, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Gotta represent the Ravens, man.
We'll leave that. It's hip hop. We're not even gonna talk sports. Baker has written, produced, and directed multiple DVDs, including Tech Nine's Psychumentary. I believe that sold over 14,000 copies independently. Yeah. From 2014 to 2016, he also co-hosted Open Bar Radio with Exhibit on K-Day in Los Angeles. Baker has been interviewed multiple times, including by Rolling Stone, ESPN, and TV One, among others. He was the news editor for Hip Hop DX. He has his own channel, Unique Access, with exclusive video content from MC Ren, Nice and Smooth, G, Perico, they don't have my name on here, Murs, Dana Dane, Scheme, CJ Mack, Big Trey D, a lot of other gangster motherfuckers, and Black Jesus, Slim Johnson. The History of Gangster Rap from Schoolie to Kendrick Lamar, the rise of a great American art form. Its author is right here. Make some noise for Soren Baker.
Thank you, Murs, for the great introduction.
Thank Wikipedia, man.
Yes, yeah.
I'm so glad to do that to you, man. How's it feel? Is it awkward to hear all your accolades when someone's? It makes me feel weird.
It is very different because I'm normally the one doing the interviews.
Uh-oh.
Hello?
Yeah,
I'm normally the one on the other side.
Okay, see, like I know your friends hold it like that, but you can't hold it like a rapper.
Can't hold it like a rapper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like that. You gotta be on some
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's not
much better.
Unusual.
Yeah. That's a little outside my purview.
Yeah, okay. That's not gangster rap at all.
Actually, could we have you guys come up just a little bit more, just to make
I'll get closer.
more comfortable? I know Soren smells a little bit, but
just a little.
We got a great turnout though. Thank you everyone for coming out, man. This is amazing. It's amazing.
The funk.
It's the good funk though. It's the good funk.
I got my notes. But I was gonna start with I'm gonna do all the interview stuff that bad writers do. Since you're not bad, you never did this to me. But who were some of your influences growing up?
Well, my main influence as far as music was Schoolie D.
Okay.
That's my hero and my favorite rapper. And if people read the book, The History of Gangster Rap, I interviewed him for the book, and I was glad that they allowed it to be on the title because he created gangster rap. And then I got to be able to later on to be friends with him. And if you guys look inside the book, he gave me an original piece of art because he used to draw his single covers and his album covers.
Right.
And he's a well-rounded artist. He's a painter. He's a producer. He's basically a one-man shop. He was the first rapper to have his own record label. He produced all of his own material.
What year was this?
He started in '83 with Schoolie D Records, and '85 is where it really broke through with PSK, What Does It Mean, and Gucci Time.
So at this time, in '83,
well, no, I found out about Schoolie D around '86. So,
okay.
Because I was a very young man at the time. So it took me
But I mean, to your credit, like that, because a lot of people may not know that you have to read the book, especially if you're from California, because we do gangster rap the best. That doesn't mean we invented it.
Right. Schoolie D invented it. He's from Philadelphia.
So it started in Philly in '83 when Snoop Dogg was probably 10.
Snoop would have been about 8.
8, yeah. So you're a guy. So Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre was still wearing sequins and doing world-class record.
Yeah, they were.
No shade, just facts. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Love Dr. Dre.
It's an evolution, and that's the thing that I tried to incorporate and discuss into the book, that the music really started in Philadelphia with Schoolie D, and I think one of the other things people forget or don't understand or realize is that, a lot of people would say, well, he really wasn't talking about gangs. Well, the difference is he really was, because PSK, what does it mean? It stood for Parkside Killers. And on Parkside 5-2, a song that was on his album Saturday Night, the album, which came out in '86, and then when he signed with Jive, it was re-released as part of that album in '87. He raps PSK. Let me see.
You gonna rap?
No, I'm not gonna rap. I'm gonna recite the lyrics.
Okay.
Parkside Ave, my place at home, the PSK gangsters like to roam. Cheaper in our hand, 32 on our socks, protecting our turf like it was Fort Knox. So he rapped that in '86. So that was, before, I don't know exactly, it was around the time of 6 in the morning, which did not include gangbanging. It was before Boys in the Hood, which did not include actual gangbanging. And he was actually naming his gang, talking about basically what gangster rap came to be known for, before the West Coast did it, after he did it, before that with PSK.
But there's people who are saying that if you're not representing a gang, then it's not gangster rap?
Some people do say that.
But then that means the NWA doesn't count because all the niggas were black. They were not in a gang.
Well, some of them were in gangs.
DJ Quick?
Some of them were in gangs.
But they weren't rapping.
Well, that's also in the book, so please read it. But I explain how the interesting evolution is because Southern California and LA in particular, the rappers from here were known for being the epicenter of gangster rap. In the beginning, Ice-T, Eazy-E, NWA, and really even the next wave of artists that you get with the DJ Quicks and the Compton's Most Wanted, they, to your point, typically wore black or white or whatever. And I talked to DJ Quick and MC8 about this for the book. And 8 in particular gave me some great stuff, because he said, when I'm out in Southern California and I'm doing my promoting, why would I be wearing blue and I know I have to go perform in front of a blood audience? He's like, not only am I trying to be smart, but this is also a business and I'm trying to sell records, I'm trying to gain fans. And I don't want that to be in my videos, I don't want that to be in my music. And going to your point, all the NWA guys either grew up in Crip neighborhoods, were affiliated with Crips. One of them, to my knowledge, was an actual Crip, maybe 2 of them. And they, until a little bit later, didn't wear blue. They wore, unless it was a Dodgers thing. And then it was, I remember one of the more famous photos of Yella. He's wearing a white Dodger shirt, not a blue one.
So, I was just happy it was a little bit blue. I was thrilled. But growing up in LA, a lot of you guys are probably younger than me, but we always wondered, like, okay, where are these niggas from?
Right.
Like, there's a whole lot of gangster talk, but ain't nobody claiming no set. So I was like, I heard Eazy's from here. I heard, it was,
right. That
was the big, Kardashian rumor for us. All right, without the Snapchat, we're like, they're always wearing black, but we heard they're Crips, But of course, blood neighbors like, we heard they're Bloods, because you want them to be on your team, what I mean?
And that was the thing for me growing up in Maryland and having to learn about this stuff from a distance and then ending up moving here and really understanding it a lot more from being here and interviewing the artists and spending time and going to all the places that they rapped about. It was always very intriguing that being so gangster heavy that it wasn't so prominent early on like the perception was. Right. And that really shocked me, because Schoolie D came out saying, this is my gang.
Yeah.
This is my gang. I'm going to explain to you what it means, and not only on this song, but later, I'm going to name where I'm from, name my street, name my intersection, and if you come over here, I got a gun. So
he was most gangster.
He was super gangster.
So how did, excuse my, I know you, so how did a perfectly good white boy end up in 1986 at 8 years old wanting to listen to gangster ass Schoolie D?
Well, The thing was, I just loved all of rap. And so, you know, I had gotten a tape, when I was 10, I had heard, I'd heard rap and stuff, but I didn't know that there was that much rap out there. So I'd asked one of my friends, I was like, hey man, do you know about rap, and like, what do you have, or what is there? He's like, oh man, there's a whole bunch of rap. I had no idea.
There's a whole bunch of rap.
He's like, there's a whole, you know, he's 10 too. He's like, there's a whole bunch of rap. So I was like, really? He's like, yeah man, I'll make you a tape. So he made me this tape, and it had Day-to-Day Nightmares, it had You Talk Too Much, Run MC, it had Big Mouth by Houdini, it had Freaks Come Out at Night by Houdini, it had The Show by Dougie Fresh to Get Fresh Crew. So he put all these songs, Roxanne Roxanne by UTFO, so Basketball by Curtis Blow. So it was a wide range of songs, and then you get the stories there, you get the melody with the Houdini stuff in particular, you get the scratching with Roxanne Roxanne, you get the interplay, the male-female interplay, and you get these amazing stories and this amazing perspective. And as someone who played basketball and as someone who liked girls, I could identify with these things. So it meant a lot more to me than like the rock or the stuff some of the other people around me were listening to, because it didn't resonate with me.
Bruce Springsteen didn't play basketball.
But, interesting side note about Bruce Springsteen of all people. The funny thing about it is my dad loved Bruce Springsteen, still does.
He loves the boss?
He loves the boss. But later, my dad did not like Born in the USA as much as he liked Born to Run. These are two prominent Bruce Springsteen albums. But I later understood I liked Born in the USA better because it's very percussion driven. And I'm drawn to the drums, which obviously worked well for me falling in love with rap, because back then, I'd say way more than now, the drums were so prominent and dominant, and there wasn't a lot of melody necessarily. PSK, there's no melody. Gucci Time, there's no melody. The Houdini stuff became more popular largely beyond the fact that it's catchy, is it has melody.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff didn't. And so I came to understand that I love drums and I love percussion, and that really helped me get into rap. So then, soon thereafter, when I heard Schoolie D, it was just, to me, gangster rap as a genre, and the name didn't exist yet. So
but wait, can I stop you for a second?
Please.
Because you just said, like, this is a question I was going to ask later. You just said, like, the basketball, you like basketball, you like girls, but I always ask this to a lot of white people, like, but what part of 42nd and whatever the fuck, and Chiba and having a gun on your hip and ready to shoot somebody did you identify with as a white child?
Well, because there was more to that. If you listen to PSK, in the lyrics he talks about pulling the gun on the dude, but he said, because of my educated mind, I'm not going to jail, I'm not doing a crime, I'm not doing time. So he also, like, in my opinion, the best gangster rappers had, despite this menace and despite this violence and this gang stuff, he actually was showing you, hey, I'm gonna pull a gun on you, but wait a second, that's the wrong thing to do. I'm not going to do that. So to me, that's something, as someone that tries to do everything right or morally sound or what have you, I appreciated the fact that here was a guy that clearly grew up, I imagined, and came to find out it was definitely true, but grew up in a much worse environment than me, had all these things stacked against him, being a young black man that was trying to be a businessman, trying to be a rapper. As you know, back in the day, rap wasn't even respected as a music, let alone an art or anything.
Or a business, yeah.
Or a business. So this guy, you know, had his own record label, was a rapper, was a producer, was an artist, was doing all these things, and he was a thug, which was just, to me, part of his personality. But then he also was a smart guy, because he said, look, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to cross that line, even though I could, and I feel like it. I'm smarter than that, and I'm not going to do it. So all of that resonated with me, to be like, this is, you know, an intelligent dude that's sitting here explaining how he feels the way he feels and why he's not going to make a mistake that could cost him his life.
Was your father able to understand that? Did he see the positive message, or was he like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Nah, my dad, more than anyone in my life, my dad really supported me and encouraged me in my love of rap.
Really?
Yeah, he's been to your house, as a matter of fact.
Definitely has. I know you.
For Christmas. But he really supported me and encouraged me. He didn't understand some of the profanity and the music that people would say, or even I would agree with, that's misogynistic. Like, he didn't understand why that would appeal to me. But I explained to him that kind of like with the Schoolie D thing, it wasn't that, man, I can't wait for them to, berate this woman. No, I was listening to it for, the music, the sampling, the scratching. If it was, I thought, funny, I appreciated that and enjoyed that, but that's not how I lived my life. So I was able, at a very young age, to separate what the artist was saying versus what I was gonna do as a person. So both my parents gave me that luxury.
That latitude. It's
yeah.
So now you're a father. I don't know.
And my daughter has a book out too, and
yes.
she's 8 years old.
She's 8 years old.
Yes.
And she's a woman of color.
She is.
A young lady of color. Half. Well, she's colored. I didn't say she's not black. I didn't say she's half black, half white, but she's definitely a woman of color.
She is.
So,
shout out Lauren, I love you.
So should Lauren
yes.
tell you she wants to listen to Blueface Tatiana?
I tell her she gotta wait a little while.
But what your guy didn't make you wait.
Well, the good thing about Lauren is she likes to ask me questions.
Okay.
So she knows she's not allowed to, she's 8, she knows she's not allowed to watch PG-13 movies. So if she sees something on the television, on her channels, she will not watch it because it says it's PG-13 and she's only 8 and she knows she's not supposed to watch it.
And so she hears Tatiana, she knows.
Well, let me just say, Lauren, this is her favorite rap album. It just happened to be right here.
Oh, okay.
I took a picture. So I'll show it to her tomorrow.
That's Tribe Called Quest Peoples and Speak to Travels in the past.
Yeah. So she loves rap. There's certain Schoolie D songs I can play for her and she loves. Living in the Jungle from the Am I Black Enough For You album and Godfather of Funk from the Am I Black Enough album. That album is pictured in the back of the book. No, the front of the book. So yeah, Lauren, she's all about it, man.
Okay. Shout out to Lauren.
She's been to Adrian's house too.
She knows a lot of rappers. Lauren.
She does. She did a duet with Exhibit.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So speaking of more modern rap, we talked a lot about Schoolie D. I'm gonna go back to my bad questions.
Okay. I'm ready.
Have you ever felt scared or in a dangerous position? You've done 3,500 articles or whatever, interviews and so on and so forth with gangster rappers.
There's been 2 times in particular that come to mind. One was an artist that I did cover. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know the what is that called? The statute of limitations for some of his activities. So
what a kind man.
Basically, I got flown to interview this dude.
Can you say the city? Or that's too much?
That's actually specific. Okay. So I don't, he's not.
The year, yeah.
He's not, so this was, I had not moved out here yet. So this was 1997. I got flown out to interview this dude and he was on parole and probation. And in part of his legal requirements, he wasn't able to leave his city. That was the terms of his parole. So, I go meet him, we're interviewing or whatever, and then he's like, yo man, we gotta go to the studio. I was like, perfect, let's do it. I love going to the studio. Unfortunately for him, the studio was like 40 miles away and not in his city. So I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm there partially because of his legal situation, and I was trying to explain that it was a very distinctive legal situation. So I get in the car, but before we get in the car, he loads his Glock, he puts on a bulletproof vest, and he gets a nice couple blunts.
Okay, well, how much of this is the gangster rapper trying to show off for the white?
I don't think so, because they knew me. They knew me.
Now you know this guy. So
Yeah.
he's not trying to show off. He's not trying to keep it real.
I don't think so.
He just normal day.
This is-
Put on my bulletproof
If
vest.
you knew
roll
his
my
arrest
lights.
record, this is very much his day-to-day operation.
Okay, daily operation.
So then I'm like, okay, like if this dude wasn't on parole and probation, should I get in this car? And he's on parole probation. So then I was like, well, you know, I'm doing this story. So then the dude is driving. He puts his Glock like between his legs, not in his pocket, not on his waistline, but like between his legs in case he needs to pull it out. Driving with a bulletproof vest, smoking, and of course now it's kind of dusk. So we're driving at least 85 or 90 on the highway, and he's swerving in and out of traffic. And I was like, man, I'm gonna have to call my parents and have them fly across the country and bail me out because I'm going to jail. Like,
You weren't worried about dying, you were just worried about going to jail.
Both, because he was swerving. He was like driving, it was one of the more crazy car drives I've ever been in. And so then we get to the studio, and I've been to a lot of studios, as have you, and I was dumbfounded because when we got to the studio, it was in the back of a laundromat, and it was a room. So imagine like if we cut off the room by that big pipe that's going up toward the ceiling, and you put, and this is 1997, so this is relatively speaking antiquated equipment, kind of like where we're sitting, there was a mic stand, and there was a dude with a keyboard, and a dude with a computer.
It was like, what's that movie with Terrence Howard?
Yeah.
Hustle and Flow. It's like Hustle and Flow.
Not that nice. Not that nice. So we go in there, and it's, you know, we have to walk through the laundromat, go through a couple of doors, and to this room, and it's like a prominent independent artist from this area, and I was just like, this is crazy. This dude drove and risked his whole life, basically, to get down to the studio to record a song that is going to sell like 4,000 copies if he's lucky. And this is when records were being sold. So that right there, I was very nervous.
Did you get another ride home?
Fortunately, they dropped me off at the hotel because where he stayed wasn't near where I was flying out of.
Whew.
So I didn't have to drive back. Because it would have been, when I got dropped off at the hotel, it was probably like 3 or 4 in the morning. So, and they had all been, of course, drinking, smoking for 6-7 hours at that point, at least.
Wow.
So,
Real hip hop.
Real, man. Keeping it real. The other time...
Wait, was this guy that you're talking, is he in your
he's
book?
He's covered in the book.
So
yes.
one of the rappers in the book this story is about. You guys can figure it out from there.
You should be able to figure it out because there aren't that many that have been arrested as much as this guy.
But that's another thing about gangster rap. But I always say that, like, for all these motherfuckers talking all this shit and they never go to jail. Like
Yeah.
T.I., I believe him. That motherfucker stay going to jail. I believe everything he said.
Yeah.
Waka Flocka, you see him, you fucking believe it. He's 6'10", 380
Right.
pounds. I believe everything you say.
I always thought that was intriguing, that you guys have done all this stuff, but your arrest record is immaculately clean.
Yeah.
But that is part of the entertainment of this.
Yeah,
you know?
Diddy got more charges than a lot of these dudes.
Yeah. Champagne bottles and everything, man.
Yeah.
The other one was, as Murs knows, and as people that know me know, when I used to do a lot of reviews and things for the LA Times in particular, and The Source, I always gave my opinion, and a lot of times my opinion didn't match with what the artists thought about their own material. So I had dissed to a lot of people. I gave unfavorable reviews, or at least ones they didn't like. And this person's also covered in the book. But I went to an event, and this person happened to be there and didn't know what I looked like, because this was before the internet.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. But someone was like, oh, you should meet Soren Baker, man. He writes about rap all the time. And the dude looked at me, he was like, you're fucking Soren Baker? And I was like, yeah. And then
Did you remember what you wrote
Oh,
about?
I knew what I'd written. And then my friend that was behind me said, you know your friend's about to get fucked up, right? But then he just kind of sized me up and looked at me, and I don't know if he respected the fact that I wasn't running or something. I don't know what it was, but it was cool. Like, he just was like, all right, man. But he didn't want to talk to me. He just was like, cool, and then left. And I felt very fortunate. I felt very fortunate.
You should still feel very. And then he did an interview for the book, or you just mentioned him in the book?
No, I'm kind of cool with him now. I'm friends with him.
Who? Can we say who this is?
Nah.
What's another rapper in the book? There's only what, 100 some rappers?
Yeah, there's only like 300 I talk about in the book.
1, 2, or 300.
Yeah.
That's to say a lot. 2 or 300 rappers are gangster rappers are dangerous. 200.
Well, no, those two in particular are.
Yeah, that's what 2 out of every 300. Well, what do you think?
No, that is a much higher percentage.
That are actually dangerous?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ironically, a lot of them aren't from the LA area. It's the other ones that are a little dicey. Like, for instance, one of my favorite rappers, not from here, that is a gangster rapper, is Project Pat. And, I remember one time I was in Memphis with him, and because I'm friends with him and with Juicy J, well, really all 3 6 Mafia. And I've written about them extensively. I was one of the first people that ever wrote about them in a national publication.
Which magazine?
Rap Pages.
Oh, so
if not the first.
You're probably, probably were the first.
And other than Murder Dog, probably.
Was Murder Dog around back then?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But I remember, I'll never forget, Project Pat, for those that don't know, he is the size of like an NFL lineman. So he's a super big dude. And I remember 2 incredible things about Project Pat. If you guys are familiar with the independent side of 3 6 Mafia's work, they would put out a lot of artists from Memphis. And one of them that they put out was a dude named Gangster Black.
Was it before Crunchy Black?
Well, Crunchy Black was in 3 6 Mafia, and so...
Were there 2 blacks?
But Gangster Black's not in 3 6 Mafia.
But I'm just saying, in the same crew, there's 2 people with the name Black?
Yes.
Wow.
Hey, man. You gotta represent, I guess.
All right, go ahead, man.
So basically, you know, I know Project Pat at this point, and we're cool. You know, Juicy J's driving me around in his Bentley, going to his house and stuff. So then I'm like, me and Pat Pat and I are driving around, and I was like, oh man, you know, the last time I was with you guys, I forgot to ask you this. I was just always curious. It's not for the article or anything. I was like, whatever happened with Gangster Black? How come you guys didn't do more stuff with him? Now keep in mind, they put out an album on Gangster Black on their record company. Project Pat looked me dead in my eyes and said, never heard of him.
He was dead to them, but he was still alive.
He was still alive.
No murder.
But I was like, see, this is why Project Pat is a real dude, because he told me he learned to go to the streets when he and Juicy J were growing up. In their little project, this dude had disappeared, and basically somebody had run their mouth to the police, and Project Pat told me that the dudes in their building were like, yo man, you're not supposed to do that. And 2 days later, he was found in whatever river is next to Memphis. And basically, they read about it in the newspaper, and Project Pat told me, he goes, that's when I learned I need to keep my mouth shut. So that's also why, if you guys go back and look, and you can read this, because I was writing about him a lot at the time, but in 2001, with his Mr. Don't Play album, he basically...
Wow, what a title. Can you say that one more time?
Mr. Don't Play, everything's correct. Everything's working. But this is when Chicken Head came out, and I went to Jenny Jones with them in Chicago. And this, I think, is past statute of limitations, and there's no evidence to support what I'm about to say, so I can say this.
This is purely speculation.
Purely speculation.
Okay.
But, so we go to Jenny Jones, and he goes, yo, Soren, come here, man. And I'm like, what's up, what's up? We're in the green room, we're in the backstage. And remember, we're in Jenny Jones. We're not in the hood, we're not like in a dangerous area. And Project Pat, again, is this huge dude, and he was like, yo, look at this, Soren. I was like, what is this dude about to show me? And he's a big dude, so he has this big hand, and he opened up his hand, and he had a gun in it, a Derringer.
Whoa.
And I was like, what you get that for in here, man? He's like, man, this has gotten me in and out of a lot of clubs, man.
At Jenny Jones, though?
At Jenny Jones.
So Derringer's like a one-shotter. Like
yeah, it just holds one bullet.
That's all you need.
But the other thing about Project Pat that was awesome was he basically...
That was awesome. That was awesome.
That was
what
awesome.
else is awesome?
Was, you know, when Chicken Head was coming out and was blowing up, if you guys remember...
Are we all familiar with Chicken Head? Whoop, whoop.
Chicken.
Boy, please.
Yeah.
You know I
Please, what
you
else?
stay at your mama house. Bro.
Incredible. But he basically, if you guys remember the Don't Save Her video, he wasn't in it. And that's because he was incarcerated, because he had gotten pulled over and, according to him, had a bunch of firearms that weren't his in the vehicle, but of course he was on parole and probation, so he had to do a little government-sponsored vacation. And,
that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, that's what, you know, when dudes say abiding by the code of the streets and all that, and I've been around and interviewed and become friends with so many of these guys, it's interesting to see, like, the Project Pats of the world, that at the height of his career, a gold record, 3 6 Mafia is huge, he's on the radio, he's doing Jenny Jones, he's like doing all this huge stuff, that he didn't do something that he could have done to get himself out of that situation. So you can, however you want to look at that, I just thought that that was like impressive.
You're impressed that he stayed true to it.
For however you want to look at it.
Stuck to his gun, his daring.
Literally, figuratively. Literally and figuratively.
Hold on, I'm going to my notes now. Man, I had there's Soren questions.
There we go. We're just going to start with the questions now?
Yes, we're going to start the interview right now. 1, 2, 3, go.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, yeah, this is a great one. We kind of talked about, but you don't talk about much about your race, as from what I've read in the book. I haven't finished it all the way.
It's not mentioned.
So do you feel like being white makes you more or less qualified to write this book?
That's an interesting question. I think as I try to judge everybody, which is to not judge them, so I would hope that someone could look at me and say, as long as he knows and respects and knows the music, that he would be qualified to write about it. I've been studying it and living it and immersed in it since I was 10 years old. Most people
living the music, not the lifestyle.
Correct.
Let's be clear. Okay.
Immersed in the music,
Right.
and then later much more into the actual environment and the culture, because Maryland, where I grew up, there's no rap scene where I grew up. So it's really about go-go and house music. So in that regard, you know, I understand, and I get a lot of people that criticize me or attack me because I'm white or because I look the way I do or what have you. Or if they don't agree with my opinion, they'll say, well, he's wrong because he's white. Or he's wrong because he doesn't know what he's talking about. This colonizer or this pale dude or whatever.
Colonizer?
Yeah.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh.
At least some of my family wasn't even here yet until last century. So, you know. At
They
least
weren't a colonizer.
Yeah. At least
people throw around colonizer pretty freely.
They do. They do.
I don't feel bad for you though.
No, nor should you. Nor should you. See, this is how we talk in general. So it's always good. Always good.
Do you use the N-word?
When I'm reciting lyrics, typically more by myself, I do.
Okay.
But I do have.
That's a real answer. A lot of people won't even admit that.
But I do. Interesting story. So I have a YouTube channel, Unique Access,
Great
and thank you. I interviewed Murs on there.
My interview's not as good as the other ones, but
Maybe it's the subject.
yeah.
But I had interviewed MC Ren, who I'm friends with and I've known since the 90s. And NWA's second studio album has a particular word that you're referring to in the title.
E feel for zagging.
Yeah, except that's not really the title.
Yeah.
So while I was interviewing him, I just said the title because when I'm talking and I'm saying a song title or album title or whatever, and that's what it is, I just say it. I don't use it in my normal vocabulary, I don't use it in my normal conversation, but in that type of stuff, I just say it because that is the title of the album. And he didn't say anything to me during the interview or after the interview or since the interview, and I've talked to him, you know, all the time or semi-regularly. Whereas in the comments section, the video now, you know, it's a small emerging channel, but the video's got almost 700,000 views.
Whoa.
And a lot of people have criticized me for saying it. You know, there's some people that say, well, that's the title of the album, what do you want him to say? And some people said, oh, he could have said something else.
The album's called Niggas for Life.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, like, it's like, you're generous because you call gangster rap an art form. I wouldn't be that generous. But I love it, and I grew up on it. I wouldn't call it. I mean, I guess it is a form of art.
It's a form of art.
It is not art, but it is a form of art.
It is art.
But if you call it, you're calling it art, which is generous.
I do.
How do you expect something? That's like saying talk about this Monet, but don't say blue.
Right.
He uses blue a lot. You're a Picasso. He has a whole blue period. But you can't say, so I don't know what people expect. I think that's unfair.
I mean, I agree with that. I don't make a habit of using the word other than in those specific contexts.
So you don't feel like, my next question was, you don't feel weird, like when you're writing the book, did you have to skip over parts? Did you feel bad typing it?
No. I mean, if that's the title, that's the title.
I mean, I just know, I have white friends that have the white guilt goes that deep.
No,
I don't type the word, I don't say it, I don't.
No, I don't.
My wife isn't like, I say nigga all the time to my kids and shit. Don't say that.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's very interesting on many levels, but no, I didn't run into any apprehension. Plus, it's also an interesting thing because since I was a little kid and before I really understood racism and the legacy of the word and the meaning of the word and all this other stuff, since I was, a preteen kid, I've been called out myself by my friends in Maryland. So like I've grown up being called that myself by my black friends. And a lot of people do. So it's just a weird dynamic.
But you don't use, outside of music and referring to this art form?
No, I don't. I mean, you've known me personally like 15 years. I'm confident to say you've never heard me refer to anyone or anything other than a song or album.
Yeah, no, I've never.
Yeah. So.
You seem, in my opinion, I could be wrong because I don't know you that well. You seem to have more Crip friends than Blood friends. Is that a preference? Are Crips just nicer? Or is it because you came up writing before the recent red wave? So sweet.
Well, there's a few answers to this.
Yeah, go on.
Great question. I've never been asked that before. The reality is, as someone who grew up here, you know the breakdown of the demographic. There are far more Crips than there are Bloods.
Word.
Still.
Really?
Yes.
I know you knew things, man.
Yeah.
He has a statistic in his book. Like in '86, it blew my mind. Like,
oh yeah.
There's like 200,000 Crips to 25,000 Bloods or something like that.
Yeah, it's a staggering disproportion, and I think, especially like people like me that aren't from here, when I came here or before I started understanding how things worked in the gang world to the degree that I do know now, not that I profess to be intimately knowledgeable, but what I do know, there's far more Crips, and there always has been. But the perception, like for me, I knew that there were a lot fewer Blood rappers growing up because I just noticed that, but I didn't realize probably the reason is because there's a lot fewer Bloods, period. And that was something that was surprising to me because, they never, in the early songs when Bloods and Crips would be mentioned, and then of course with DJ Quick and the Bloods and Crips album, which I discuss in the book, The History of Gangster Rap, it was always Bloods and Crips, so I assumed it was essentially around the same, but it's like not even remotely close.
So this is a safe answer. You're saying you don't like Crips more, there's just more Crips, so of course you're friends with more Crips.
Well, if you were to do some due diligence, Murs.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, we would see that, DJ Quick, who let me interview him for the book, I've covered extensively. Mac 10, I've written about and covered extensively. The Game, I've written about and covered extensively. Game just gave me a drop. If you want to check my Instagram or my social media.
Yeah, he just shout you out.
Yeah, so.
Do any of these guys read?
Yes.
Just check.
Yes, they do.
Just check.
They do. So it's just the numbers are disproportionate, so I think that's reflected. My appreciation for Blood rap is equal to my appreciation for rap by Crips. As long as it's good.
As long as it's good. Doesn't matter color.
That's really
colorblind.
Yeah, I am. Shout out to Ice Cube for his song on Death Certificate, one of the best, not only one of the best albums ever, but I talk about Death Certificate extensively in the book, The History of Gangster Rap. In my opinion, that's one of the best rap albums ever made, but it's also one of the best looks at the life of gang culture, not only the people that were living in it, but like in songs like My Summer Vacation, where he explained how the gangs migrated around the country. And that shows the power of what was going on here. And the music reflects that because, you know, Schoolie D started it on the East Coast, and then right after that we get the Ice-T and the Boogie Down Productions and the Just Ice in New York and Los Angeles respectively. But then when we have Boys in the Hood, Eazy-E and NWA, there's the explosion, and then the West Coast becomes synonymous with it. And then My Summer Vacation details, you know, the migration of the gangs around the country. And then a year later, in 1992, on the Way Too Funky album, DJ Quick has the famous song Just Like Compton, where he rapped about him traveling as a Blood, going to these different cities and performing, and seeing that, man, when I'm in San Antonio, these dudes are gangbanging, claiming streets they never seen or heard of or whatever. Yeah. Both Ice Cube and DJ Quick had similar lines in their respective songs. And it's just very powerful that this music and the Southern California black gang lifestyle was so powerful and spread so pervasively throughout the United States. And it's amazing.
That's the power of Ice Cube and Death Certificate.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal album.
So is that the greatest gangster rap album of all time?
I would say so.
I find it hard to disagree with that.
Yeah.
It's pretty up there.
It's astonishing. And it came out in 1991. And the thing, D.O.C and the Mad Circle also had an album that came out in 1991 called Ain't a Damn Thing Changed. And the amazing thing, if you listen to those two albums in particular, a lot of what Ice Cube rapped about in 1991 and Schoolie D rapped about in 1985, and all these guys that were very political and had a lot of social commentary and insight, a lot of what they rapped about is still going on today. So when you look at 1991, what Ice Cube was rapping about with My Summer Vacation, we see now the after effect and the fallout of that, but it's still happening. This, as you said, kind of with the celebrity gangbanging and all this stuff, this is because of the seeds that those guys had sown back in the 80s. But then also when you look at the D.O.C and the Mad Circle and the Damn Thing Changed, when I got flown out to interview D.O.C, is one of my favorite rappers, and when I got to interview him in 1997, I went back and I listened to Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, because I went through his whole catalog from Low Profile, the Rhyme Syndicate Coming Through compilation, up to that point, and including the new album, which was the shadiest one at the time. And when I was going to interview him, I just remember that at the beginning of Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, he says, it's 1997 and ain't a damn thing changed. And everything he rapped about in 1991 was still happening, and I was literally in 1997 about to go interview him, and that just blew me away.
Oh, wow. And so on the old album, he raps about 1997.
Yeah.
And in 1997, of course.
Nothing had changed.
Yeah, but D.O.C is one of those rappers that on Pay Your Dues.
Yes.
Raps about not being a gangster.
Yes.
Because it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
But he's one of the most gangster rappers I know. And
yes.
Fast forward to 2007, he's crip walking.
Right.
He's part of the proliferation of crip walking becoming.
He's one of the preeminent crip walkers, I would argue.
Of all time. Yeah. So how does it go? How does one go from gangbanging sucks, kind of? That was a message on Pay Your Dues, kind of.
Right.
To connect gang, bing, bing, bang.
Well, I think that's the evolution of the business. And if you listen to Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, I think this, I know, happened with some of the members of NWA. It happened with D.O.C and all these different things. But if you remember the one song where Dub's like, "Excuse me, officer, but I wrote this with a broken hand." And Dub told me, he was like, "Yeah, because I really was writing with a broken hand because the police had messed me up." And I think, if people know, Dub obviously grew up in South Central. If you know the intersection, I do 111th and Western. But yeah, that's, he's in the neighborhood gang. And
that was no pun intended?
No, that was pun intended.
Okay.
But the point is that, you know better than I do, but if you grow up and you're affiliated and you're either just affiliated or you're actually in the gang, I mean, things are gonna happen. And once you know, a lot of dudes make choices, and if you're frustrated or angry or what have you, obviously this is what I've been told, but things like that happen.
Things like that happen. Rest in peace to Crazy Tunes. You can't talk
Absolutely.
about D.O.C without that.
Yeah, I did some lightweight touring with them, man. Like, cause he's one of my favorite rappers, and you know, I got to be really super cool with Crazy Tunes and all those guys, and it was just amazing to see how incredible they are. And if you guys have, you know, I sold D.O.C a beat.
What?
Yeah.
You produce as well?
No. But if you guys check it out, one of the things I was very excited about and proud of was, if you know his album, or if you know the song, look it up, called Dick on the Side. I sold him that beat.
Dick on the Side.
And he played off of Salt and Pepper, Chick on the Side. So it's a play off of that. But I sold him that beat.
You're very multi-talented. Written movies, sold beats.
I try to do a little bit of everything.
So yeah, I'm asking a lot of these questions. I know a lot of this about him, but I want everyone to know like what justifies this white boy to write this book.
Thank you, Murs.
He has extensive knowledge and first-hand experience with gangster rap, the art form.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Nice shirt, by the way, for not respecting the art form.
I love the music, man. I just wouldn't call it an art form. I would call it a form of art.
So if it's not art, what is it?
Music?
So no music is art then?
Some music is art. Not what black rappers do is not art. What we do is not art.
Wait.
We're not gonna have that debate somewhere. I can say that. You can't say that. I'm gonna say that.
Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. Saul Williams might do art.
Okay.
He's borderline art.
Well, he's poetry.
Yeah. See, that's art.
Poetry is art, but rap is not art?
I don't know, man.
You gotta check the rhyme, man.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Check the rhyme.
We will take a question. You can be first. But to show my respect, I'm joking a lot, but to show my respect, what Cube, what Easy, what Schoolie D, Ice-T, what these dudes, Too Short, E40, what these dudes did was revolutionary.
Right.
My mother told me that no one wants to hear B and H on the radio. They're never gonna get paid. If they wanted to had some real talent, and if they wanted to make money and make a real living, they'd clean that stuff up. And they broke through with it.
Right.
But that was the last time rappers did anything really original. Everyone else is to me, has been riding on the coattails. Like you said, since '91, that certificate is still true. No one's adding anything new to it. It's just
Are you talking about gangster rap, or are you talking about rap in general?
Gangster rap.
No, I would argue my favorite of this generation, and people that know me heard me talk about this way too much, is Vince Staples. Like, I think if you look at what Vince Staples does on Shine Cold Chain Volume 2, on Hell Can Wait, and Summertime '06 in particular, those are my three projects.
I just wanted you to know, like, these are OG Vince Staples projects, like Michael Ozu, whatever the fuck his name is.
No, that's before.
Oh, that was Winter in Prague.
Stand corrected.
Sorry.
Yes.
Michael didn't do those?
No, he did not.
Shit.
He did Winter in Prague, though.
Winter in Prague.
And he did Shine Cold Chain Volume 1.
Okay, that's nice. You said Shine Cold Chain. So,
Part two.
But you have a knowledge of Vince Staples before Vince Staples was Vince Staples, and you have a knowledge of Schoolie D.
But he has. Oh, I thought you were saying that to diss me.
No, I'm saying that, like, I'm just letting people know, like, you just, like, when you buy this book, it's the history of gangster rap, but he keeps current with every single. How many tapes and CDs do you have?
After I had 15,000, I stopped counting.
Like, this is a real hip hop scholar. To this day, he's not. I got old and I don't listen. I have kids. I don't listen anymore. He knew Vince Staples when I was trying to book him for paid dues, like Winter. Like,
I remember I was talking about it.
Yeah. So you think he's an evolution of gangster rap?
He is, because he is, in my opinion, not only bringing it up to date, but like the great artists that created gangster rap and that helped popularize it, I think if you look at a lot of Vince Staples' material, he shows, like the Project Past, like the Ice Cubes, like the Ice-T's, like the Schoolie D's, he shows the downfall of it, the downside of the violence, the drug addiction, the drug selling, the incarceration. He shows the well-rounded picture of it, and he does it in a way that's current. So,
but current doesn't mean he's breaking new ground.
But he's breaking new ground. I understand that position, but what I'm also saying is that you could, if you want to make that argument, then who's breaking new ground after Schoolie D? Because he said he's from a gang and he's got guns and weed and he does coke or whatever.
Right, no, I'm saying, but they broke ground because it wasn't popular. Like once it's broken through, it's mainstream now. Like you're not taking a risk. You make a gangster. They were taking a risk. We could go to jail. We could never sell a record.
Right.
We could, like someone like you, I can give up my drug business.
Right.
And fail tomorrow.
Right.
But fuck it, I believe in this shit, and it's my story, so I'm gonna tell it.
But to that very point, at the time that Vince Staples was coming up, like we had the wave of blood rappers. He's a Crip. We had the wave of, you know, gangster rap had kind of gone through a lull, and I talk about this in the book, The History of Gangster Rap, because of the deaths of Biggie and Tupac. The record companies stopped signing West Coast gangster rappers. That's why when 50 Cent came through, it was such a big deal, because if you go back and look at that time from 97 up until really 50 Cent and then Game, the only West Coast gangster rappers that broke through were Exhibit, the East Siders.
Exhibit's a gangster rapper?
For Restless.
Okay, for one album.
So, yeah, but that's, you know, he had always had that in him, in his lyrics, if you listen to him.
I'm joking.
Yeah, he had always had it, but then, you know, when you get with Dre and Snoop, and
he turned it up a little bit.
He did.
That's another story.
But the point is that when you have Exhibit, who had already been out, you had the East Siders, who had already been out, you had Mac 10 and West Side Connection, who had already been out, and then you had in 1999 Dr. Dre come back and Snoop come back. None of those artists are new. But because of the deaths of Biggie and Tupac, and I talk about this in the book, and I actually interviewed one of the executives from Priority Records, the label that's put out Eazy-E and put out NWA and put out West Side Connection and Ice Cube and Mac 10, et cetera, in the boot camp clip, just to show. But they basically said, we're not gonna sign this anymore. And all the labels out here changed their security. They did all kinds of stuff because of the death of these two artists. So we had a dearth of that happening. It wasn't that the artists weren't creating it and there weren't new artists, they weren't just getting the opportunity. So then, you know, you have the resurrection thanks to the legacy artists, and then you have 50 Cent come out, and last time I checked, he's not from here. So, but he liked to say Blood and Crip in some of his songs.
Yeah, first song.
And then signing Game, that was part of his master strategy, which was very smart to, you know, try to have somebody from all the different regions of the country, which he was able to do. He had Young Buck from the South, Game from the West, and then the rest of the G Unit being from New York. So the difference is, so by the time Vince Staples comes out, that wasn't going on anymore in rap. It really wasn't.
And now, but you think what Vince Staples makes is gangster rap?
Some of it is. I don't think a lot.
I mean, I don't know how they, like, cause I know Vince, first, I never heard a song by him. I just heard about how gangster he was.
Right.
He's one of the few artists that I booked, Nipsey, Vince. I think the two artists, of all the gangster rappers I ever booked, where I had to go to and meet with him and be like, bro, when you come, don't come with that bullshit or you can't come.
Right.
And show me who's coming with you because your friends are idiots. And that's like, I don't want, you know what I mean? And not your friends, like my friends are idiots. Like they're, right. Yeah, I mean that in the best, warmest way. Yeah. Like your friends might kill someone that paid dues and there'll be no more paid dues. So show me who you're bringing so I can meet them and show, hey, I'm the weird guy. Please, there's no one there gonna hurt you. You'll be the toughest guy there, I promise. And, you know, but Vince, I had to have this whole speech because my partner was very scared of having anything associated with gangster rap on the bill. Because we had the Inland Empire
right.
that didn't want to have rap shows. Anyway, so I feel you, but I don't think that people know how gangster, and thank God, people don't know how gangster Vince Staples actually is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I consider him gangster. I don't know if I'm gonna give you that one, man.
Well, that's fine.
Well, we can have this argument later.
You can, yeah, it's good to be wrong.
Is Vince Staples in the book?
Of course.
Of course, because he's gangster at AF. So why didn't it say from Schoolie D to Vince Staples?
Why didn't it? That wasn't my decision, ultimately.
A label, see?
Yeah, it ultimately wasn't my decision, but I thought it was a good idea to say from Schoolie D to Kendrick Lamar for a few different reasons. One, Kendrick Lamar obviously is more famous, prominent, better selling than Vince.
Oh, okay.
But the interesting thing about it is that and I talk about this in the book, and I interviewed people about it, is that in a way you could, if you look at some of Kendrick's material, he does a lot of, or was doing more so, I think he's gotten away from it a lot, but he is like Ice Cube in the sense that he's not out there pushing a gang agenda. He's writing stories about growing up in a gang-infested area, and he's telling these stories and rapping about it in a very, sophisticated, high-level way. And so he is an example of the evolution of gangster rap, which you say doesn't exist, but I'd say it does.
No, if you consider Kendrick Lamar, Vince Staples gangster rap.
But what I'm saying is, I think he's the evolution. Vince to me is way more of a gangster rapper than Kendrick Lamar is, but Kendrick Lamar is like Ice Cube. Ice Cube wasn't out here, I know where Ice Cube grew up, I've been there, but he's not, his music, other than a rare exceptions, he wasn't saying, I'm the one doing it. He's rapping a story about a dude that was doing it, or was going through it, or what have you, just like a lot of the times Kendrick Lamar did.
And so Vince is North.
Vince is, I'm doing it.
He's doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's doing well for himself.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations, Vince. Thank you guys for coming. I think we should take the question. Is that okay with you?
Well, let's do it.
Homeboy, where you at?
Where's he?
Go for it.
My question already, but I kind of got two questions. Do you consider YG a gangster rapper? And do you think the West Coast can kind of get out of the gangster rap to like make it? Because I feel like every rapper that comes from the West Coast is kind of gangsterish. Do you think we can get out of that and like form into a Kendrick Lamar era, like hip hop, like it is in the East Coast?
Do I consider YG a gangster rapper? Yes. He's very prominent in proclaiming his gangness. So I would say yes. And he raps about gang activity. So yes.
So, okay, but now I'm gonna build off that question. So, if you're an old school idiot like me, when you see the Tatiana remix with YG and Blueface, you see a Blood doing a dude in blue, does that take away the gangsters?
No, I mean, we had West Side Connection. We had, back in the day, one early prominent example of Bloods and Crips working together outside of the Bangin' on Wax album was with the Penthouse Players Clique. You had Eazy-E and DJ Quick working together with Penthouse Players Clique. So it's been happening since the music, existed, basically.
So it's always been a part of gangster rap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or long. I don't know if the actual first couple months, but yes, for a long time.
And then, what was the second part?
Oh, the second part yes, I think the main thing is that there's always been, in my opinion, a misconception that all Los Angeles rappers are gangster rappers, because that's definitely not been the case. And ironically, from everything I know, one of the more gangster dudes is actually Tone Loc, or he was.
I did a song about that, yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is, like Tone Loc, if you look at his name, that lets you know what gang he was in. So,
that's people slept on that.
Yeah, they really did.
Wild thing, but Tone Loc is like, I'm a Crip.
Yeah.
Tone Loc,
yeah. But the point is, Young MC is from here. Murs is from here. He's not a gangster rapper. There's, dozens of people back, even since the 80s, before gangster rap existed, and then as, the music continued, look at the Alcoholics from the earlier era.
I think he means like blow up. But I mean, my answer to that is Tyler. Tyler is the answer to all of that.
Yeah.
He does the most for the rap community with the carnival, the clothing line, the skateboarding. He's done the most to break out of that. His whatever his sexuality, who the fuck knows? You know what I mean? I think Tyler is breaking everyone. And then, slightly behind that, Earl is gonna grow up to be the MF Doom of the West Coast. So I think that we're slowly, breaking out of it. I don't know. But
I agree.
But in his opinion, Tyler might be a gangster rapper.
No, he's not. He's not.
He's throwing everybody under there, bro.
Nah.
You ain't gotta shoot motherfuckers no more. Soren is...
No, that's not true. Not true. I did not label you a gangster rapper in the book. In fact,
I was hoping, man.
In fact, I interviewed Murs is in the book, of course, but I interviewed him about, and I have a section with him about being from Los Angeles and not being a gangster rapper and what that was like for him coming up as an artist. And I know for a fact from being around all these guys for so long, that is a challenge for a lot of them because of the way the perception is, and especially before Tupac was killed, it was even harder. So that's, it's just a reality of it. And I think now, because of this new wave, and now that being a gangbanger, I think, has become like a celebrity thing, as we see the out-of-towners move out here as adults and then become gang members, allegedly.
Yeah.
That, I think, also puts an unfortunate stain on artists that are from here that are not gangster rappers, because they have to also compete with that.
Another question? Okay, gentleman in the white hat.
Would you consider Kendrick Lamar a crossbreed between the hieroglyphics movement and the gangster rap movement? And would you consider the Rockies record movements of the late 90s, would you consider that more a reaction to the commercialization of New York rap, or a reaction to the fallout of Death Row?
All right. As far as Raucus, the commercialization of New York rap. So no, because in 95, 96, this is a big misconception about rap in general. If you look at Bad Boy and Death Row outsold Bad Boy astronomically. It was almost like double it. It wasn't even remotely close. So when these things were going on, New York artists traditionally, and that's why a lot of them, I think, don't like the South and the West Coast and even the Midwest, because New York rappers, after the beginning, never sold as much. I'm not talking about creatively or if they're good or not. I'm just talking, to your point, strictly about the commercial side of it and the sales. I don't think it's a reflection of that, because they weren't selling that many records anyway. So I don't believe that to be the case. And the other thing, to that point, I always think is interesting and odd is a lot of artists will say, well, I'm not worried about record sales, I'm not worried about this or that, but like, that's what you're doing when you make a video and you put out a record and you go on a promo tour and you do all this. You're doing it to sell records.
And that's what ceases to make it art.
No.
Picasso wasn't paid like, oh shit, this about to go platinum, nigga, watch this in the Louvre. That's when it ceases to be art.
No,
your intent is to sell it.
Art can be commerce, though.
In America, that's just in recent history. Motherfuckers wasn't making hieroglyphics in ancient Kemet talking about, oh shit.
One day I'm gonna sell this.
Yeah, one day. Watch when Cleopatra see this shit, it's gonna woo.
But then they did though. They did. There were artists got paid back then.
Right, but you didn't create for the sole purpose. Like in a communist country.
What was their job, Murs?
Huh?
Were they artists?
Yeah, I know what I'm saying, but they weren't.
They got paid for their work.
But they weren't.
Is that what they did?
But their pay wasn't based on sales. It wasn't based on how many people consumed. No,
Did you have to sell it to be an artist?
No,
Yes, you did. Who'd you sell it to? The person that employed you.
If you're a Griot in West Africa,
right?
You don't have a house.
How do you know?
History, you read,
they had houses.
I mean, no, but you're traveling.
Not like this.
You're traveling because you show up with your whatever your instrument is.
Right.
You play for the night. It doesn't matter how many people get up and dance.
And how did you eat? Did people give you food?
Yes.
Oh, for your performance, man.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying it didn't matter.
That sounds like a payment.
But that's what I'm saying. But it didn't matter. It wasn't trying to go platinum. Of course, people wanted to get paid.
Did they want to eat well?
You didn't get paid a steak or a fucking pork chop depending on how good the song was. You ate.
I disagree.
So you're saying,
I bet you if you did a better job, you would have got better food. Guaranteed.
So you
guaranteed.
Okay, so in this hut outside of where.
So Murs, you're telling me if you go to someone's house right
options. Now. You're talking about they got options.
I'm telling you right now.
The salmon, he wasn't that tight. We saved the steak for the next. Then you got food.
No.
You didn't get an extra helping if you were dope.
I bet you did.
You didn't get to play if you weren't dope. You had to be good.
Yeah, that's the baseline of being an artist.
No, not.
If you're a whack artist, no one wants to see you.
Did you have to turn on the radio? Have you been? If you're a whack artist, in America you can make money because it's about making money. If you were a whack artist back then, you couldn't live because you had to have skill. You don't have to have skill to be a gangster rapper.
And that's how you got paid, by creating your art.
Right, but what I'm saying is there's a technical
means-
skill. There's no skill to gangster rap. That's obvious.
I disagree, homeboy, to quote Hollywood Shuffle.
But, okay, so what is the note you have to hit?
Read the rumors. Read the
I
rumors.
think we're all living in a fallacy. If you'll be honest with yourself. Like, what's the note? What's the scale you have to play to be a gangster rapper? What is the technical level of skill you have to train to be a gangster rapper?
That certificate, brother.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Ice
saying.
Cube didn't write that, my brother.
You didn't write that?
Cam wrote it. Most of it. Look at Cam's cadence on Peace Treaty, and look at how Cube's cadence changed from America's Most to Death Certificate.
Okay, what's wrong with American Most?
Nothing. It's just not technically good. You can't put that up against Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar left-handed. You can't put Jimi Hendrix's national anthem,
But now-
Star Spangled Banner, against.
But Murs, now you're separating your personal opinion from what somebody looks at as art.
No, no. What
The
I'm
Star
saying is-
Spangled Banner wasn't Jimmy. He didn't write that.
Right, that was his interpretation of it. It was an artistic rendition of it, but it required years of him training.
So who wrote it? Do they get credit as being artists?
Huh? No, who wrote Star Spangled Banner?
Yeah.
Of course.
Were they trying to sell it?
No.
Oh,
How
so
many-
Jimi Hendrix
so
was
did-
exploiting it, He was
Did
exploiting.
he sell it?
Yeah.
Where did Jimi Hendrix sell his rendition when he lit the fucking shit on fire? He didn't sell that. That was passion. That was art.
Wait, where did he do this at Woodstock? Did he get paid to do that?
Right? Did he get paid whether he did the Star Spangled Banner or not?
Kind of back to the point about the food.
He got paid whether he did it or not. Right. So now, when's the last time a rapper did something spontaneous of that level?
It depends, because to you, certain things are not spontaneous. If a certain person does it, then it's not spontaneous because they're not good enough to be spontaneous.
No, I mean, you could be spontaneous. Did Eminem, did anybody get up at the Grammys? Eminem's not a gangster rapper, so we'll get out.
Yeah,
But
it's not.
when's the last time a gangster rapper got up and did anything spontaneous that was amazing?
When were they at the Grammys?
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
Should they be?
yeah.
Next question.
Which one?
Kendrick Lamar hieroglyphics go.
Nah, I think Kendrick Lamar, like I would argue a lot of good artists, took his influences from everywhere. So do I believe that he was influenced by hieroglyphics? Absolutely, because even though they're not from the Los Angeles area, being from California, people from outside of California and Los Angeles in particular look at the West Coast as one city. They don't understand its different cultures in Inglewood and Compton. They don't even understand that, let alone San Francisco or Oakland or San Jose or Sacramento or what have you. So I believe, from what I understand about Kendrick, that, he listened to a lot of different music. I've interviewed him and talked to him before. He didn't only listen to gangster rap or only listen to terrible art, like Murs would say. He listened to great art, like the hieroglyphics. But the point is, yes, I think he was inspired by that, because I think a lot of people that rap in the way that Kendrick does and that look at lyricism in that framework, look at people like the hieroglyphics because they're clearly, top-notch artists. And so was he inspired by everything? Yes, I think that's why he does what he does in the way that he does, because he has a wide range of influences. So I agree with you. I do believe that.
Next question. We got a little bit more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Referee said we can go a little bit longer.
A little longer, yeah.
I think it's definitely, you can't tell these days also because you don't have to buy records. Like, kids can get on YouTube and study everything.
Why? Yo, what are you talking about, bro?
There's records right here, man.
We can still buy records?
Yeah, you can still buy records.
Oh, shit.
Come on, man.
That's crazy,
We
man.
only got one question left now.
Okay.
Hey, right. My man, right.
Referee, which one? Yep.
So who do you think will be the next to bring back the West Coast torch? Because I mean, we got like a lot of overlooked, like gangster rappers. I mean, some get their shine, like that kind of low, but not to the extent that YG did, like back in 2014. You got up in Oakland, you got Mozzie with Pop.
Right.
Nipsey kind of, you really blowing up, all these, who do you think will be the next era, or like decade, to really make the West pop?
That's a tough question because, to Murs's point, the way that the perception of what's successful is very different than what we grew up with. So it's very hard to say, because are we doing it off their Instagram following, which has nothing to do with, is their music popular, is their music good?
No, I mean, yeah, because like the popular, like to make it like to the popular standpoint, I mean,
well,
like to the extent of like when, like as far as like Snoop was the first, you know, like.
Well, to your question, I don't know that that's necessarily possible, because we look at Snoop and people from the era 15 years ago and more from record sales. And the records, the way that SoundScan tabulates that now is not the same. So an artist, correct me if I'm wrong, but no artist is going to sell 5 million hard copies of an album. Snoop sold more than that on Doggy Style. No, that's not going to happen anymore, because that way of evaluating and calculating an artist's prominence doesn't exist anymore. So now we have to evaluate them from the current criteria, which is social media, through streams, through the type of performances they're doing, the type of collaborations they're doing, the type of appearances they're doing, and all that, like everything else, is subjective. But then it's like, do you value them more because they have social media or because you like their song? And do you evaluate them if you like their song and it's got 50,000 streams, or are they successful because they have 17 million streams?
Not like based on the material, not like, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's
the is coming out with like, like Tatiana shit, like, I mean, like that's like, so it's commercial, but it's not really like bringing back like YG did the most,
yeah, but again, that's YG is among the last of the era that had record sales and had social media. He's right on the.
But do you think there's anyone going to make quality gangster rap?
Yeah, it's going to happen, because people, maybe you don't believe this, but people still read, people still care about politics, people still want to better themselves in their surroundings, in their communities.
Gangster rappers do?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
So the point is that, as I have MC Ren gave me a quote, gangster rap's always, and this is in the book, The History of Gangster Rap, gangster rap's always going to be relevant because there's always something that's going on in the streets. Like I mentioned before, what Ice Cube and D.O.C and everybody else rapped about is still happening. There's still racism, there's still police brutality, there's still, the system doesn't provide the same economic, educational, really medical, any sort of, there's no equality in that in our country right now, and there has never been. So unfortunately, these situations still exist, and the people that create the music, typically and predominantly in gangster rap, young black men, they're still affected by the same things that have been happening ever since they've been in this country. So that, until that changes, when that changes, and Ice Cube told me this isn't in the book, but he had told me this one time when I interviewed him for War and Peace album. This was for the LA Times.
Great album.
And he told me, he said, I wish what I rapped about wasn't relevant anymore because what I talked about didn't exist. He goes, but as long as it still is happening in America and around the world, then what I'm saying is legitimate and is valid. And sadly, all these conditions that Schoolie D rapped about in 1985, and Ice-T rapped about it starting in 86, and Eazy-E and NWA in 87, on and on and on and on and on, it's still happening. When NWA made Fuck the Police and then Compton's Most Wanted made One Time Gaffled Them Up, did anything change? No. And we still see it today. How many times do we see unarmed, innocent black men getting harassed and brutalized and victimized by the police?
So, would you stop rapping about it? Would it stop?
One more question.
All right.
So, I grew up on the East Coast, like the Philadelphia area. We just categorize gangs in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or recruit, whatever it may be, kind of going to Schoolie D. Why are, you know, why is this more so, I guess, about West Coast more so than East Coast? You know, because me personally, growing up, I would consider a state property of Jay-Z and Nas, and Mobb Deep, things like that, gangster rap more so than this, because I just didn't grow up on that.
All right, so just to make sure everybody can hear the question, is that he grew up on the East Coast, and he just wanted to know why some of the East Coast artists like State Property or Jay-Z or different things aren't more considered gangster rap or aren't as discussed, because my book focuses more heavily on the West Coast. There's several answers for that, and I do explain that in the book. But the basic point of it is that what the guys, and Trey D gave me a great quote about this that helped frame the beginning of the book, the intro, and he told me this as I was almost finished with the book, but it helped, I realized it applies. And basically it's that the West Coast artists did not create gangster rap, but what they did and what they promoted and the music they made, the lifestyle, the clothing, the attitude, everything about it is what influenced all the artists you mentioned by the way they dress, by the way they rap. Jay-Z's rapping about parking lot pimping. You've been to New York. How many parking lots are there in Manhattan? You know? Jay-Z, if I remember correctly, said, everybody wants to know, am I a blood or a Crip? I never heard anyone ask that about Jay-Z, but he said that because he wanted to be involved in the gang conversation because that was prominent and dominant. Ja Rule was wearing bandanas and wearing, you know, Dickies and all kinds of stuff. Ja Rule, last time I checked, is not a blood or a Crip in reality. So, you know, that's the thing though. That's why, and they didn't also rap about gang lifestyle. They rapped about being a criminal or being a thug or what have you. And somebody had asked me also about like the Poison Clan. Oh, well, the Poison Clan. But they rapped about robbing you. And that was like a one-person operation. They were talking about snatching purses. Like, that's not a criminal activity, a criminal organization. Like, you're doing that and you're robbing old ladies on the corner. Like, okay, so you're a criminal, but that doesn't make, you're not a gangster, and you're not rapping about the gang lifestyle. These guys represented, dressed, and everything they did, or a lot of what they did, represented and presented that in a way that the State Properties, all the guys that you mentioned, by and large, did not do unless they were directly appropriating the Bloods and the Crips. So it's a very different thing in a lot of ways. Like MOP was hardcore and grimy, but they didn't rap about the MOP gang that's gonna come over and kill you. They might have rapped about the hill that's real and about all this other stuff, but they weren't like, our MOP organization is gonna come in your neighborhood and sell lots of drugs and kill everybody. Like they didn't, that's not the same thing.
Posse is not a gang.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get it.
So there it is, y'all. Well, thank you for coming
Soren
out.
Baker, the book is called?
The History of Gangster Rap.
Thank you guys for joining me.
Yo, big respect to Soren and Murs. Thank y'all for being here. If y'all got the book tonight, please force his brother to sign it. And thank you, man, for giving both of y'all for giving so much to the culture, man, for real. You guys are welcome to hang out and bug these guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.